Hello and welcome back to another episode of CEDH Bling Builds. Today is a very, very special episode, I guess. We're going to feature Nekusar the Mind Razor, a zombie wizard who, I guess, considered a group slug strategy, where if you have the wheels, you're going to be a wheeling and a dealing. And your opponents are going to get pinged every time they draw cards for that. Now, I guess once upon a time, Nekusar was like kind of like a good deck, like in the 80s or something. But the game has come a very, very long way. And so I don't think Nekusar is particularly strong. But it's really kind of like this meta call, right? Nekusar is strong in, if you have like a storm players, stormy opponents, just like playing cards, playing, dig, 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 play, dig, 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 play, win. And he punishes them for sure, 100%. But right now, at least at the CEDH tables that I play at, it's a Stax meta right now. A lot of rule of laws. And so I kind of dug Nekusar from the crypt because of that reason. I pulled him out because if we're going to play under these rule of law metagames, then he could kind of just stick around and kind of get some value over time. Kind of. Maybe. Not really. And so with all that said, I kind of just placed Nekusar in like a mid-tier, high-powered deck. Right? He's not really an outlet for anything in the command zone, and he doesn't really have like grixis synergies, with the exception of like wheels, and that's not really good enough. So I guess today I'm going to present with the spooky light, because he's so spooky, a high-powered Nekusar deck. High-powered Nekusar deck. Now, I know when you go on the EDH rec, there are a lot of cards that are not going to be present in this build, because I think those cards kind of fall apart when Nekusar is not on board, right? Or there's just like some weird like A plus B strategies that are like mediocre, right? The cards themselves are kind of whack, and without Nekusar on board, they're stupid, not very good. And so this is a deck I would probably bring to like a high-powered tables, definitely not CDH. Even though I might try him out, see if Nekusar, as long as I could protect him, if he could do enough damage to opponents. If the game's just going to turn into like 40 minutes of just like draw go, which happens a lot. I had some tech in the deck that could actually allow me to play that sort of style, just draw go and gain value. And we'll check those out as we make our way through the deck. So what we got? We got Nekusar the Mind Razor, 2 and grixis. Kind of a pain to get out fast, but not impossible. And all he does is, at the beginning of each player's draw step, that player draws an additional card. And then he has a passive ability where whenever an opponent draws a card, you ping them for 1 damage. 1 damage. And we've seen card effects like that, pinging like an opponent or all opponents for 1 damage in like our Niv-Mizzet Perun decks, or anything really with a curiosity engine. So I'm going to borrow aspects of the curiosity engine and throw them in this build. And so we have curiosity, which is a perfect synergies with things like this. You enchant a creature. I put in the deck because it's very cheaply costed at a single blue. And so you just slap this on a Nekusar, and as the turn goes around the table, we go around the table, just ping, 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 ping. Nekusar is gonna get a ton of value from that. When the turn comes back to you, that's like 2, 4, 6 extra cards in hand. And so whenever enchanted player deals damage to an opponent, you may draw a card. Just like that. Very simple, if you didn't already know. Curiosity. There's a Tandem Lookout and Ophidian Eye. They're a little bit too expensive for me to want to put them in this deck at like 3 CMC. So they didn't make the cut. What did make the cut is another really sweaty tech card. We have Sigil of Sleep. The Sigil of Sleep, same thing. When we ping somebody, that enchanted creature, whenever enchanted creature deals damage, not combat damage, just damage to a player, I return target creature that player controls to its owner's hand. And so we're going to keep our opponents off of like creature strategies. Turn goes to them, they're going to get pinged twice. That's 2 creatures back to their hand. Sure, I guess they could reuse Dockside, but it's like not that crazy. Yeah, and again, it's very cheaply costed for a single blue. So we're going to go with the wheels strategies. A lot of wheels exist in the game. I'm just fortunate enough to have access to a Time Twister and a Wheel of Fortune, and so they go in the deck. If you don't, there are other alternatives. They're a little bit higher on the, I guess, on the CMC, right? But that's up to you. And so, like I said, this isn't like a 100% hardcore Nekusar deck. This is kind of just like a Grixis strategies while Nekusar is in the on the field, right? Like a bad Kess deck, like a Kess deck minus Kess. So we have a Windfall, simple wheel. We have Wheel of Misfortune, great addition. Welcome addition to the Magic collection. I would probably call 5. I used to call 7, but then I realized there's always like the one person who picks 0. There's always going to be like the one person who picks 0 because they're just like content with their hand, and then everyone else is going to call like 3 or something just to be safe. I don't know why. Just my experience. This is anecdotal evidence of what to call, but it depends on what wavelength you and your pod is writing. Wheel of Fortune, OG wheel, and then a Time Twister. All phenomenal wheels that really ping the shit out of your opponents. Now, I'm going to be drawing a ton of cards. Does that mean I want, like, in my opinion, bad cards like, I don't even know the name of it, like Reliquary Tower, or the rock, the mana rock that gives you unlimited hand? You don't need that. You don't need that. We're in red, and so you know that there's going to be an Underworld Breach in the deck. We're in black, you know there's going to be a Yogg Will in the deck. And so because of that, like the graveyard acts like an extension of our hand. So I never liked cards like that you have no maximum hand size. I kind of think they're bad cards. So, there's that. And then we have this weird wheel, Whispering Madness for 2 and Dimir. Each player discards their hand and draws cards equal to, so it's a windfall, right? But then you could cipher it. So you could put it on to a creature. We're going to put it onto our Nekusar because Nekusar is ideally the permanent that's going to be sticking around the longest. And cipher, when you may exile this card encoded onto a creature you control whenever that creature deals combat damage. So it has to get in, right? Combat damage to a player, its controller may cast a copy of the encoded card without paying its mana cost. So it's pretty much you encode this, you cipher this onto Nekusar. Now Nekusar, he is the windfall. Look at me, I am the windfall. Uh, I it's a little bit highly costed for me at 4 CMC. I'm gonna keep an eye on this card's performance. I'd rather have a Winds of Change. I don't have a Winds of Change anymore, but whenever I play this card, I'm gonna pay attention to when is it better? Is it better as a Winds of Change? Is it better as a Whispering Madness? Or maybe I have both in the deck. I don't know. We'll see. Keep an eye on the link to this deck in the description, how it evolves over time. But yeah, I guess I have to reorder Winds of Change. Some payoffs with opponents constantly discarding their hands. We have a Mnemonic Betrayal, a Yawgmoth's Will for an opponent. Now, most of the time, I don't give two shits about what's in my opponent's decks. Right? I have this philosophy where I really can't depend on my opponents to find a win. But maybe I could find a Dockside. Maybe I could find one of their Underworld Breaches. Not likely, but possible. And so, we could probably string together a win by just having our opponents constantly just fill up their graveyard from just being wheeled to death. I know Time Twister kind of negates any of that, but Time Twister is still really strong. So yeah, Mnemonic Betrayal is a nice little payoff. Another way we could punish opponents from the wheels is a Waste Not. This makes the cut for me because it's very cheaply costed at 1 and a black. It has 3 modes, if you didn't already know. Now, whenever an opponent discards a creature card, you put a 2/2 black zombie creature onto the board. Whenever an opponent discards a land card, you float 2 black mana. And whenever an opponent discards a non-creature, non-land card, you draw a card. A perfectly timed Waste Not can probably help you win the game because of the massive value that you'll receive with 3 opponents discarding hopefully full hands. Simple Notion Thief, because of course. No Consecrated Sphinx. I don't own a Consecrated Sphinx anymore. I come from an era where it was all about just like fast storm decks, and cards like Consecrated Sphinx were just a little bit overly costed, right? A little too slow for the format. So that's another card I might have to rebuy, which is annoying. Yeah. It gets slotted into more and more of my mid-range decks, and so yeah, the Consecrated Sphinx should go in this deck. No Hull Breacher, rest in peace. We have Narset. Narset is a fantastic card. I know it's counterintuitive to what Nekusar wants to do, but the turns that I'm ready to storm off, right? The turns that I just find my way into like an Underworld Breach combo or something like that, Narset helps to shut my opponents down. It's a pseudo silence in that regard. You wheel them once, you wheel them twice, they have no hand, they're unlikely to interact with you. Now your Underworld Breach lands could happen and continue uncontested. Not only that, just a simple Narset wheel is enough to make a lot of opponents just concede on the spot. So it kind of turns into a win condition inherently once in a while, sometimes. I know I'm one to probably concede to a simple Narset wheel. A lot of people just, there's no coming back from that. At that point, opponents realize they're just too far behind. And then the Boogeyman, the Boogie Bay. We have a Turgid, got a Fright. No Consecrated Sphinx main, but a Turgid. Yeah, sure, why not? It's whatever. It's whatever, man. At 5 CMC, It's a little bit on the heavy side, but Turgid Wheel, again, you could accrue a lot of value from something like that. If we're going to be playing the mid-range game, even against like really, really sweaty pods that are on like Stax meta hate bears, right? Win conless decks, a wheel into a Turgid, a wheel with a Turgid on board, I could just take all their things and start beating the fuck out of them with their own creatures, right? And it's grindy, but that's the state of the meta game that we're in currently. Win conless Stax. Another win con we have, of course, I mentioned earlier, are Underworld Breach Lines. Really amazing card. Probably the second best red card in the format. And there's just a brain freeze in here. I know that my wheels, with so many of them, are already feeding my graveyard for Underworld Breach lines. This is another card. I'll just keep an eye on the performance, but the storm count could be enough to, you know, a low storm count, because if I'm a wheels deck, a low storm count could be enough to mill out opponents for game, unless they have a Titan in their deck for absolutely no reason whatsoever. I make that joke all the time because, like, I don't think there's any CEDH deck in 2022 that like needs a Titan in the deck. I might be mistaken. I know get Rug Frog, but you don't see get Rug Frog at all anymore. And then of course Thoracle Consult. It's just too easy of a combo. Thoracle Consult, Tainted Pact with the Tainted Pact, and acts as a phenomenal tutor, add in speed, getting the other half of my combo. In the case of this deck, there is no other half of my combo, so oh well. But yeah, but Tainted Pact, of course, you have to build your mana base accordingly. Our counters package, hard counters, soft counters. We start things off with the soft counters. We have a Pyroblast, red Elemental Blast, Deflecting Swat. We have an offer you can't refuse, Flusterstorm, Swan Song, Mental Misstep, Force of Negation, Fierce Guardianship, Pact of Negation, Force of Will. Now, this sort of deck where Nekusar is, you know, on board the whole time, you gotta try to protect him as much as you can. So we have two additional. You have a delay and mana drain. As my friend puts it, these are omni counters. They counter anything, and so that actually comes in really, really handy. As like I mentioned all the time, we're in a creature-heavy, win-conless Stax meta. So, you know, what good is it countering? What good is it having like a Spell Pierce in hand or a miscast in hand in a mid-range deck when they drop like an annoying creature, right? Doesn't do anything. So the Omni counters are still very, very strong, even if they're a little bit more pricey on the CMC. And then the mana drain can help you pay for your Nekusar, maybe. Or you have plenty of artifacts where that mana can help pay for something. Our tutors, we have a Mystical Tutor, Vampiric Tutor, Imperial Seal, Demonic Tutor, a Gamble, and then for a little bit of recursion, we have a Yawgmoth's Will. Yawgmoth, don't be afraid if you have like as I goldfish this deck a couple of times. There was an instance where I had a ton of mana floating from like a hypothetical huge waste knot, and so with that I was able to have a low hand count, but with nothing of any real value in my hand, to play Yawgmoth and then grab from the graveyard like another wheel, just wheel again, not really going deeper into a combo. And so that sort of recursion is a lot of value in a deck like this. A double wheel in one turn with the payoffs on board. Very nice. Our spot removal, here's where it gets interesting. I kind of wish I had more space for spot removal, so as I continue to goldfish this deck before I bring it to actual play on the weekend, I'll keep note of that. We have Chain of Vapor, Winds of Rebuke, Cyclonic Rift, and March of Swirling Mist, a phenomenal card. Very, very versatile. The turn I'm ready to combo off, it doesn't matter what deck it is. I could simply pitch something and start handpicking the annoying hate bears that are on board that I don't want to deal with. Or I could just protect something like my own Nekusar. And a Toxic Deluge. Our rituals, we have a Rite of Flame, Jessica's Will. Not so shiny, what the heck. Dark Ritual, Cabal Ritual, Calling in the Weak, and a Rain of Filth. And in our draw package, no room for cantrips, but Nekusar is drawing a ton anyway, so we have Ad Naus and Appearance of the Abyss. Very, very simple. Even with Turgid and then eventually Consecrated Sphinx in my deck, the Ad Naus is still fine. It's still fine. Let's move on to the rest of the deck. So we have our creatures, right? We have Simian Spirit Guide, Dockside Extortionist. Today the Rules Committee made an announcement, no new bans, no nothing like that. So Dockside and Access Oracle are safe. So with that said, I'll probably upgrade to Dockside to the etched foil, and not the hideous borderless one. We have a Malevolent Hermit. Fantastic value on both sides, whether it's his front or his backside. Of course, when you cast him from the grave, he just straight up says no to your opponents whenever they're trying to stop you from storming off. A Ledger Shredder. Ledger Shredder is a phenomenal card. I've been misplaying with him a lot because he's kind of new-ish, and I'm getting old. And my memory's not so sharp anymore. But I keep forgetting that he goes plus even when it's any player. So I gotta admit I'm guilty of not using his effect on when I meet the criteria. Opposition Agent, a Dothy Voidwalker, a Gilded Drake. Just take my opponents off of whatever bullshit they're on. Our enchantments, we have a Mystic Remora and a Rhystic Study. I could have easily slotted in like a Necropotence in this deck. A lot of value from a Necropotence. But I have so many wheels in the deck. I don't want to go minus discarding my hand under a Necropotence, and then all that stuff just gets exiled. So Mystic Remora, Rhystic Study. Our rocks, pretty simple, straightforward. We have Lotus Petal, Jeweled Lotus, LED, Talisman of Dominance. Oh, don't forget your LED plays is something as simple as like play the LED, cast a wheel, and then crack the LED. So that's just like some extra mana that you could float. Talisman of Dominance, Talisman of Indulgence, Arcane Signet, and a Fellwar Stone. You don't see that every day. No Wishclaw Talisman in this deck. This is like a slower mid-range deck, so it's gonna be pretty seldom when I just like assemble a combo and ready to go. I'm just gonna like draw into a combo, not so much assemble a combo. So I don't need the Wishclaw Talisman. Again, I always pay attention whether it's goldfishing or playing the decks in real life. I pay attention to what cards could perform differently. You see this all the time. If you look at my Tivit deck compared to like the way it's built now, totally different deck. I fell in love with Tivit as like a high power deck, and so constantly making changes to it. I play him, see where he's weak, see where synergies aren't as strong as I thought, and just making those changes appropriately. See it all the time. Mox Opal, Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, Mana Vault, Soul Ring, Mana Crypt, Simple. Our lands, finally, we have all 9 fetches. We have 1 island. I sold my unhinged islands. Is that the John Avon ones? I sold the cycle of that, and so I'm trying to, eventually I would like to get the Guru lands, a Guru island and swamp. Just not right now. I got a baby on the way, and so my priorities are a little bit different. But I'm still trying to find like a nice, basic land cycle to replace that. I was thinking maybe because all I really need are the swamp and island. I don't play the other colors. So I was thinking maybe the skull ones, the secret layer one, or the etched shadows, the etched Innistrad ones. I don't know. I don't know yet what's going to be a placeholder for now. So we have an island, just 1 island, and that's it. This is a 3-color deck where I kind of need access to all 3 colors at all times. We have all 3 shocks, all 3 duels. Then we have the rest, a luxury suite, morphic pool, fiery islet, and a training center. We have our ancient tomb and Atawada. That's it for the channel lands. I don't even know what the red and the blue one, the red and the black one do. And then our rainbow lands, we have a gemstone cavern, command tower, exotic orchard, forbidden orchard. I don't give a shit giving 1/1 to opponents in this deck like this. I'm not really swinging. That's why you don't see like professional facebreaker or like Rangavan in the deck. I don't care, or Grim Hireling. Mana Confluence, and then finally a city of Brasserino. And there you have it, Nekusar in 2022. Just a value engine in a slower rule of law metagame. Today's sleeves, we have the tuna tech. We have just like this is a paper inner from like a credit card application envelope. Cut it down to size. We have like a little anime girl, hentai girl in the back. I should double sleeve this, whatever. I don't care. And then this interesting outer is from a brand called Mana Moon with the ghost types from Pokemon. The sleeve quality is not amazing, so I would use this on my generals, not so much on the main deck. And there you have it. Thank you so much, and take it easy. Ta-ta.